so we're gonna try and do this and see what happens. I've not done a thing like this before, but we're gonna see how it works. I'm not sure if my computer's gonna freak out the moment I flip the screen, but I don't know. I felt like drawing tonight. I should be working on my backlog list, admittedly. We're gonna try and position the mic so it's not completely in the wrong place. I'm gonna flip my screen. And I don't know, I've been thinking a lot about how yeah, we're here, bro. My computer's probably going to run very slowly because I'm going to... yeah, you can see it's not doing so great there. Let's trying to find some relaxing music to put in the background. Or maybe I'll just talk. I honestly might just talk. This is probably going to just slow my computer down so much. Anyway. So, not going to do... There we go. Originally this was hard to do because I had to use a tablet. Now I just draw on my computer. Anyway, so this is Cozy Gamers again. I didn't stream yesterday. I intended to stream yesterday. I'm sorry to anyone who's waiting for me. I intended to stream yesterday, but then I also just was tired and I should have gotten up and worked on it, but I don't know. Yesterday I need a moment to relax. I need something to make me feel happy. So I went on and decided to tackle a couple of quests on Star Rail. I wanted to finish the end game of the third world and do some quests I missed in the second world. And I have to just say that, again, that's a game I would love to play on stream just to go and be like, hey, don't know if anyone else out there loves this game. I mean, granted, there's a very large fandom that goes and says there's a lot of people that love this game, but I just needed someone else to experience this with me. I also would like to go back and see the first world without all the staggy lagging that I was doing beforehand. I'm going to start drawing in a second. I just need to text someone for it while I'm talking. So I don't know. I would love to go through thoroughly into that game because, man, it makes me just feel good. The last world just got me in a vice grip, and a lot of people online agree. But, the character writing in the last world, every one of them I loved. There was one character who I found annoying, but that is kind of her purpose. Still hate her. There aren't many characters I say I hate in that game, but that would definitely... She falls into one of them. There are 2 in the previous world and 1 in the world before that. So apparently there's going to be one annoying little girl in every world I go to. But otherwise, it had the most emotional payoff at the end. It wasn't even a bad thing. It was just the sweetest moment at the end that you're just like, wow. That was nice. And then the journey continues. I love the fact they had this moment of grief of every stop we have a journey, we have a momentous occasion and we come and meet these people and it's a moment in their life and we feel great, but then then you have to move on and keep going and the journey always continues. And I'm just don't get philosophical on me now, game. Don't go and get me all deep on this. So I went and did some quests, some of which were good, some of which were not they weren't bad necessarily. They were more on the matter of fact of I had left them. They were in the second world. Clearly they were meant to come on. There we go. Clearly they were meant to be done earlier in the game that I did them. And that's for me in the second playthrough. That's also why I do this is a game that I want to do a second playthrough in. I don't want to go and be like, oh, I did that in the wrong order. I'm like, no, I want to do a second playthrough. I would love to do I don't know if there would be a challenge necessarily. Maybe do one that's only with the free characters, but I don't know. I'm debating. I'm not sure what I want to do with it yet. But I'm just thinking. I do a lot of thinking lately. Okay. But I don't know. I just played Star Rail pretty much all day yesterday, and it was very nice. It was very soothing. It's probably the experience a lot of people maybe have playing Genshin. I do want to give that game a better chance. It's just hard not to compare the two when they're just literally sitting there like 2 birds on a wire there, and you're like, how am I not supposed to look at the two of you and compare you? You're literally right next to each other on my home screen. But because a lot of people probably have fun in exploration like that. That's what I'm doing when I'm playing Star Rail. Is I go play one thing and then be like, oh, but I could also do this and this And this. No, there's a chest over there. You know what? Why don't I fight the strong enemy while I'm over here? Just, for the heck of it. Sort of vibes. And, I just... It gives me feelings. Gosh. I mean, again, gotta text someone something, so I will. I promise I'm going to start driving in a minute, but I need to give someone a password. Let's see. Nope. No. 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 Yeah, ideally, if I was close to my thing, I'd go switch over and be like, hey, wait a minute, moment, and just be like, but what even is my Uber login? Sorry, I'm doing this and not paying it and not saying anything right now. I had this issue with like my credit card. Got some random charges on Uber. Trying to figure it out with my parents. So I am also doing that in the moment of doing this. I will be talking in a minute, but then again, I'm not sure there are a lot of people here yet. So if there's going to be anyone at all, so might just be me, myself, and I tonight, which is fine. This is really kind of a proof of concept stream. I want to see if it can actually work. Okay. Alright, so now we're waiting for that to update. Fun. Anyway, so why are we doing the drawing stream tonight? So I've been thinking with my one friend who's talking about the icons. I mean, Negative Slimes, I think you've seen. She's been in here too. She's. Come on. She was talking about her icons. And I'm like, I should make icons. I mean, we already have our little cozy dragon here. But I've always said I want to have a YouTube channel, and I would like to cover video games, but also just talk about anything that interests me. I like analyzing things for like their story content and stuff like that. Comparing and contrasting things is a really thing I enjoy a lot. So I was thinking about like those. It's a popular thing now that when you have like a video that talks about things, you have usually like an avatar, an icon that has like like 3 or 4 different expressions, and it goes through and you do that with a voiceover. And I think I would much prefer that to myself. And yeah, I'm messing with my phone as I'm doing this, and so Let's see, where's my messages? I don't know where my credit card will be attached to in here. Yeah. Anyway, but so the idea being is that I have been thinking about, like, if I did videos, I probably would be someone who would not be in front of the camera. So I might want to make, like, you know, some sort of avatar of some sort that I can, you know, have react over a voiceover if I did anything, which I think would be kind of fun. I mean, I have a couple of ideas of what I could do for something like that, but, you know, this is kind of me just going to be sketching out some characters I'm familiar with, some characters I've made in the past. That, you know, everything I have is kind of vaguely Pokemon based. But, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, especially because a lot of them are, like, you know, one step away from being original characters. So no one sees it at the moment, but I also have was working on, I don't know, I've just been thoughtful lately and thinking, like, you know, what sort of characters can I make in order to do this. So I have a couple ideas I'm going to play with for here. We're just going to play around for, like, maybe an hour or so. This is really just to see if my computer can handle it, because the main reason we did drawing streams in the very beginning. It's just, I had a tablet for a while, and that just connects from HDMI port that we didn't, and we had, like, really bad stuff that, like, cords never worked. We couldn't get everything to plug in. So this time I'm doing this on my computer, my new computer, which I've mainly been using as a tablet because I have, like, the flip screen with the pen, and, like, which works way. It's very nice. It's obviously not quite as high end as a tablet, but it's definitely very good for on the go, which is something I am a lot of the time. So, I think I hear a dog. Is that a doggo? That sounds like my Perry. Is that you, Perry? Yeah, it sounds like you, Perry. That you, little wiener? I can hear him. I recognize his tiny little feet. Anyway, so I'm just going to take a look at some stuff and, you know, play around with it. So, first thing came to mind is, so I have, let's see, I'm going to just play around with here a little bit. So I have this one character I use. It's also fun being self-taught as an artist, because you're, like, you kind of pick up the basics from watching other people draw, but you're still, like, I'm someone who's never, like, professionally taught how to draw, so I kind of just, like, oh, this person does it that way, and that's maybe how you draw shapes, and that's maybe how you do a head, and, you know. So I have, like, this one character that I like to draw in Pokemon. Oddly enough, it came from Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, and I don't know why I particularly, like, gravitated towards this one over others. See, how do I want to do this? I don't know why. I always draw her, like, never standing upright. I always draw her, like, in the crouching position. I don't know. I like having her all bunched up and stuff. Anyway, so I have this one character that I kind of enjoy drawing, who's, like, she's a Zangoose. This character I have, her name's Sable. And I don't know why I gravitated towards her so much. I don't know why I enjoyed drawing her so much. But, like, I just did. She's for this PMD group I'm in part of. That's, like, has outlaws and stuff like that. And I don't know. I just kind of enjoy drawing her for some reason. I like the body type, maybe. I don't know. But, so when I think of, like, ones that I could draw, like, really well, I always kind of just think of her. Because, I don't know, she's a character I really enjoy drawing. I always draw her, like, crouched down. I should really draw her standing up one of these times, but... No, I'm like... I never was really even that terribly fond of Zangoose as a Pokemon before, but, like, I don't know, something about drawing her, like, design, I kind of just got really into after a while. You know, maybe I just like drawing things that are, like, kind of floppy and stuff like that, but... You kind of see, I don't know. I don't have much methodology and reason when it comes to drawing. I definitely am a little too sketchy in most things. So, my proportions are always a little weird. Let's see. She's got kind of big feet. Should I draw her a little, like, bunny-like? I tend to draw a lot of things bunny-like. I like drawing like kind of the hawked feet sort of thing going on there. I always draw them slightly off because, you know, you're always weaker on one side than the other, so. She always has. I don't know why I did it at the time when I designed her, but I don't know. She has these two pieces of like fur coming off of the front of her face like this. And, you know, typical Zangoose, they have the marking over the one eye. She's got kind of sharp eyes. So they have the one Zangoose have the like scar marking on their eye that goes in the kind of like this upward jagged shape. So when I'm thinking about characters that I could potentially draw as an icon, I think of Sable because I could definitely probably draw her in like a dozen different things. The biggest thing is that, like, again, you're thinking about things that what describes you, what describes your channel, but I'm like, sometimes I think about her and be like, well, you know, if I had to draw something that I probably could draw pretty easily and I know pretty well, this is one character I know really well because I draw her a lot. And I like drawing her. She's got very jagged fur because she's kind of a wild girl, so. She's a little feral. I don't know, I just like doing it. And I've drawn her in a couple different outfits. Generally when I'm drawing her, how do I want to draw her today? Well, let's just work on the body for a moment. And because Zangoose, when you kind of pair them up, are kind of stocky. And I like drawing her longer, so the way that I kind of deal with that and the fact that Zangoose typically have some weird body proportions is that I just have her with kind of longer arms. Of course, got their really large claws out there. So I think I'll draw her with her claws out for now. Most of the time, I'll do like something in between, which I'll make this hand knot thing. But the thing I have is that she has like 3 fingers, you know, and like a opposable thumb. But the claws come out from between like a Wolverine sword punch. And then obviously they have the jagged outlines here. And Zangoose typically have some sort of marking on their chest. I'm just going to keep it basic here because I don't actually technically draw her, and I'll tell her chest, and I'll explain why in a minute. And I always give her this kind of very bunched up lower half because right now she's crouching, so naturally she's going to look a little bunched up. She's kind of crouching down right now. So I remember how to draw her feet because it's kind of, they're a little long in the front, like that. Got the toes in the front. I don't know why I initially drew her feet like that because that's not how Zangoose look. They have typically actually pretty small feet. But I don't know, I like giving her like large, kind of almost rabbit-like feet. So let's just go for a little hand thing right there. So yeah, she typically has 4 fingers, 4 or 3 fingers. I kind of vary between them because the whole idea is that her like hand's not like very defined. You can get her little jagged markings in there. And she has, again, Zangoose do have large tails. Hers is particularly large and fluffy. I don't know why I made that a detail, just it is. See there, and then they also have like the scruff kind of coming off their shoulders. It's like almost looks like little furry shoulder pads. And you should have her with a little smirk like that. Shoulders honestly should be a little higher there, but that's fine. So the reason I don't really, think too much about what I draw for her chest is actually because I typically draw her. She usually has a vest on. So she has this sleeveless vest. It has this high collar on it. Kind of like, sort of hide her face. She has a sleeveless vest. I usually just gave it to her to make her look tougher. But it also actually turned out to be a pretty good thing because then I could kind of hide the fact that I didn't like drawing her chest marking. So I imagine it kind of bunches a little bit around her waist like this. Again, knowing how clothing works would probably benefit me a lot as an artist, but I don't know. Fashion doesn't interest me in the real world, so surprisingly it does not interest me a whole lot in art. So kind of imagine it kind of bunches around, because it has like this tighter, kind of like a sweatshirt, tighter rim around the edges. And the rest kind of just bunches out from there. Because it's a little too big on her. She's got extra like kind of jagged fur right there. Pull it down. Again, thumb, 1, 2, 3, 4, yep. She's got very long claws. She doesn't use them actually very often. She's more of a wrestler sprint attacker, so while her claws are very powerful and they do give her a lot more punch, she just prefers not to fight that way. That's kind of also why I think of this character when I think a lot of like what I want to do, because it's a character that I have a lot of thought of in my mind. Like I've thought a lot about her. There's this big zipper down her vest. Just do a finger, just like that. One, two, 3, 4. Her thumb's about down there. And that's the thing. I kind of like her hands are maybe like amorphous type of thing like that. And like, I don't necessarily want them to be defined or have structure type of like that. Why are you up here and whining, Perry? I know there's someone downstairs to be watching you. Put your thing there. Get her eyes. Other eye. I can never figure out how to make eyes even. So my eyes are usually slightly jolted, and I don't know how people do that. I'm sure there's some mirroring trick or something I can do. Get her hair in there. Oh, thank you. I was just talking about it. This is my character Sable. She's a Zangoose. It's a character I use a lot in this one online roleplay group. So she's a bandit. Kind of a rough and tumble sort of girl. I'm just trying to think of like characters I like and I enjoy that I could use potentially for like YouTube icons. So she's one I think of because I like drawing her a lot. So there we go. No. This character I've used a lot. It's just funny because Zangoose isn't even like close to my favorite Pokemon. I did become rather fond of it in a recent Nuzlocke. It went very well with me, and it was one of my first characters I used when I first started playing in PMD groups. But like, I don't think I necessarily have any strong connection to. I don't know. She also has this marking on the front of her vest because her mom's a survivor, which if people know, The lore of Seviper and Zangoose, they're sworn enemies, so her parents are literally star-crossed lovers, which was my first ever team I did online was them. And I enjoyed them a lot. They were fun. Anyway, let's just put a little bit, maybe just a little bit color in here. Let's get the basics. Go a little bit in that. But anyway, so I don't know. When I think of characters I like a lot, characters I would like to do more with, I think of her because she's a fun character. I don't know. I like her spirit. I guess she's very spunky, but she's also she's earnest. She wants to learn. She's been in the desert most of her life, so she does know a lot about society and culture. In fact, I'm kind of writing her in this kind of weird power imbalance romance thing going on, where she's like has this kind of very tricky boss she works for, and she's like, on one hand, she got blackmailed into working for her in the first place, but then later on, she's like, am I kind of crushing hard on her right now? So she's a little clueless in that regards. So maybe I relate to characters doing that because I'm a little clueless in that regards, but it's just a character I like. I just like when I'm thinking about making an avatar for myself on YouTube, I think about what could I draw in multiple expressions, because I have to do that. I want to do something like that on YouTube and have like an avatar behind like videos I did. I have to, figure that out. And I'm like, so what could I feasibly do? And I don't know, she's just one that comes to mind. Let's see, her vest is more like this. So, I don't know. Would this be something I would adapt and turn into like an avatar? Maybe. Again, I don't know if this represents my channel, but it's a character I like. Because I've made many characters over time. Oh, right now I'm using Clip Studio. They had a sale at some point, and I bought the 3.0 version, and it's been working pretty well for me. I used to use Photoshop actually for the longest time until their membership is just stupidly priced and not reasonable for artists at all. So I stopped using that, and then everyone's like, oh my gosh, you were using Photoshop as a drawing program? I didn't know you could do that. I'm like, yep, believe it or not, I'm totally dumb and just didn't realize that there were other options. So, funny enough. And that's why there's random colors in her thing. When I first designed this character, I love vibrant colors. So she has some very vibrant colors in her vest. I don't really know anything about character design, to be honest. I can definitely analyze character design, but I'm not terribly good at doing it myself. Like implementing it, I guess you could say. Interesting thing, most Zangoose have black claws, but in the 3rd generation, where they were originally released as a Pokemon, their claws were actually purple, which I think looks cooler, so she has purple claws. Even though most would typically have black claws. Okay, then need a little bit. Let's go, there we go. Okay, and then we need where is it? Here we go. Part of this is actually yellow, but I can't remember. I draw her a lot. I don't always color her in because coloring takes a while. And honestly, it's only since I started using Clip Studio and they had like the auto paint feature that I actually even started using color as much as I probably should, at least to get more used to it. So, still kind of figuring out. I've not been using this program for very long. So, that's Sable. Just, Oh, thanks. I don't know why. I'm just drawn to vibrant colors, and it looks different on my screen, obviously, than it will look for you guys. So, you know, she's just kind of my girl. One of my favorite characters to draw, and also she's pretty easy to draw. So, I think that's too hard to do. Let's see what other time for someone else. Oh, let's see. Who else do I like to draw? I guess another one I like to draw. I was drawing a little bit earlier. Check my phone. Is that I have I like drawing Kecleons, but they don't necessarily, whenever I draw them, look like Kecleon. They're actually more based on a different someone I saw on DeviantArt once had this way of drawing Kecleons that I really liked, because I didn't typically like Kecleons the way they were drawn normally. So I kind of copied their way of drawing Kecleon instead, which isn't really the same, but I don't know, I like drawing it. It's just another character, I guess, if I wanted to, I could, copy with. And I honestly should have a better methodology for drawing, but I don't. I kind of just go with the flow sort of thing. It means I have a lot of layers usually and a lot of cleaning up to do in the end, but that's fine. Maybe that's why I draw Pokemon a lot too, because I don't really need to worry too much about my anatomy stuff. Like, I try and do it to some extent, but I'm also kind of lazy when it comes to it. But no, I enjoy drawing Kecleon because they are these little, like, I draw them like very noodly little lizards. Isn't quite how they're drawn, but it's how I draw them. I don't know, I draw them pretty lanky for some reason. I just do. So these characters were actually, this is one half of a pair at least. These characters came into existence during the time of Unus Annus. If there's anyone who remembers that. I have to remember which way the hands are pointing. Yeah. Like crazy. If I knew more about anatomy, I'd probably remember which way fingers go when I'm drawing them. So during my time when I was kind of working through the fact that like Unus Annus was doing, it was a thing that Markiplier and Crank Gameplays, aka Ethan Nestor, were doing, and I was kind of coming to terms with the fact that it was almost over. So I drew some characters that were essentially Kecleons, and I don't know, I enjoyed doing them. It was fun. I kind of draw them every once in a while. And this isn't them. This is just kind of basic Kecleon right here, but it's a character I like to draw often because, I don't know, it's just fun. And also it's kind of a tribute to that channel and how it kind of got us and many others through 2020. What a year to choose to do that sort of project and then go through with it anyway because the world was getting weird. Like, who could even have foreseen that sort of thing coming? Kecleon is also a funny one because I think I change its markings up every time. Let's go dark green on this one. Sometimes it's fun to draw something with less resistance. Well, the thing is that I never really put much attention into anatomy, which I probably would make my things look. That's why I have issues drawing. Like, that's why there's not a lot. I'm a little starved for choice sometimes when it comes to drawing characters, because I'm not good at drawing many characters consistently. Probably my lack of anatomy is what does that to me. Is that if I, that I did pay attention more often to my anatomy, then perhaps we're gonna do this way this time. I like drawing different markings every time I do a Kecleon. Because their markings can be anything, because that's the cool thing about this Pokemon is it's a chameleon, so it can change how it looks. And so I like, just changing a little bit each time how it might appear. So we're going to give this one, like, sometimes I have different ways the frills go. Sometimes this one, like, normally they have a circle around their eye. So this one has a little mark going through it, and let's put, like, maybe something like that. Did something like that instead. Kind of hazardous looking. Curls around the eye, maybe like that. And I always give them such long necks. I'm like, your shoulders should be actually up here, but I keep drawing them so long, and I like things with long arms, in case you can't notice. So, usually going for 3 fingers because it's easy enough, but sometimes I'll add an extra 4th one just so they can grip things. Kecleon have different markings also dependent on that, so I like usually putting them about here to be like gloves, but I might also maybe be like, oh well, maybe this guy has an extra ring right here. They always characteristically have a zigzag on their stomach, because that's the thing, they can turn invisible. The only thing they can't turn invisible is a zigzag on their stomach, but everything else they can turn invisible. But sometimes it might be more, they also don't have to be symmetrical every time either, so I might be like, okay, maybe they have like, he has like glove like markings instead. So I might be like, oh well, if we do like that, how about that? Would that look cool? So with his hip down, comes down like that. Claw. Sometimes I'll just do that. Sometimes I'll actually put toe claws on it. So maybe if he goes up like that, we'll make his thing on the top look like that little boot like. Comes down like that. And have only 2 on this side because his foot's facing that way. Again, I honestly, it's one of those things that, like, yeah, if I studied a little bit more, I'd probably be way better at this, but believe it or not, when I was younger, people mostly praised me for my art skills, so sometimes it's a little weird being like, now I kind of focus more on my writing abilities. So, like, I've always loved doing art, but I also feel like I've never been good enough at it to really make anything of it. Like, I have an eye for detail, I can do compositions, I can tell you what looks good, but, like, I go and look at some other people who are animators or friends who are artists, and I'm just like, man, cannot do what you can do. That's like, that takes training and time and skill, and you've clearly put in the effort. Let's maybe put 1 ring here, 1 ring here, and maybe the one down to the base of the tail. And I appreciate that, what you've done. You've done a lot to get where you are, and that's pretty impressive. And I don't think I've had that sort of skill. I don't think I've put in that kind of time, so sometimes I just do what I'm comfortable with. And I guess I kind of came to acceptance. I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever get better, or I'll be that great at it. Maybe I'll just pick up a little skill along the time. I've always done art slowly, so So it's not something I really struggle with. I'm not consistent, so I have a hard time creating characters that are consistent. Yeah, that's why I feel like I'm kind of like beyond the point of being terribly great at art. Is that I'm like I never really learned the basics properly, so I'm like always being like, oh, well, that's a thing. So like for instance, if I made this as like as a YouTube character, I love I like scarves on my characters, so I might have this like little. I like also sometimes having scarves that are a little lazy about it. So like this one might be a little loose, so it's down here. Again, if I knew anything about how to actually draw fabric, I'd probably be better at this. But so let's put it like that around there, and maybe it just drapes over the one shoulder like this. Maybe they don't really care how their scarf lays. And then it would probably, like, the other end would probably be somewhere back here. Be really short on the back end because it's just to get around the neck. But the other loose end might be all the way draping down here. So I like characters that have scarves like that. And I don't know. I can never draw them correctly, but I do love little top hats. So maybe it also has like something like this, maybe just a tiny little one, and maybe it has, a card or something in it, because I like that sort of poker face sort of vibe. So maybe he has a hat that has a little card in it. Now we're getting kind of like little magician vibes with the hat and the stuff like that. So maybe he might just only have those details. He might just have the hat, might just have a scarf like that. Or he has some kind of glove features going on here. But I feel like I would have to maybe put something in the tail. So maybe for like the tail, I like clocks, but maybe there's a clock in here, or maybe, I don't know, maybe it's something like a lantern. Whenever I have something with a long tail, I feel the need to put something in it. So maybe it's like a lantern or something like this. It has some sort of magic flame in it. This is how I make characters, honestly. I just go look and be like, what could I make to do with this? And maybe it's right here. Maybe there's just, and then, little dapper kind of looking dude, girl here, whatever it is. Who knows what this is? Who knows how this character actually works? I have something like that. How the art though is just doing it your way. Yeah, that's true. I will say, social media made it much harder to be an artist, because now all the time you're looking and being like, why can't I do that? Let's see. I'm like. That maybe let's go make dark blue. Go. I might have a little hat like that. Let's put a little more color on this thing. It goes around halfway. And then there might be whatever's in here might glow a weird color. So maybe like bright purple. And since we have that hint of purple in there, maybe there's some purple on them somewhere. Maybe there's like a stripe at the bottom of the scarf that's purple too. And I think I would I like giving my characters like kind of ambiguous names. I like for instance, I was watching the Dark Pictures anthologies. I like, for instance, you have the curator. in my D&D campaign, I have like the conductors. So maybe I would have some character like this be like the Watcher or the Whisperer or something like that. Like I like the and then a noun sort of vibes. So what color would this one be? Let's go for something a little bit more on the pale side. So let's say my thing's in the wrong layers, but we're still going to do this just to give a better idea where the layers are at. Let's say something pale like this. Let's go a little more of this color. There, I like that better. I also wish I had a little bit more, I cared a little bit more about color composition times, because sometimes I just go and be like, do these match? No. Am I still making it? Yes. So now they're pink. So maybe they have a name like Rose. Or something equally floral sounding. But they might like have no correlation with flowers, and that's what I was like the sort of trickstery characters. They're like, no, why am I called that? Just because I feel like it. So the other thing I think I like about Star Rail when I'm playing is that a lot of characters are named after items. Like the names are easy to remember. Even though they don't necessarily know who everyone is, like, I remember for a while I didn't know like a lot of the characters in the game, but like I can remember like, okay, this is Black Swan. This is Boot Hill. This is Topaz. This is March 7th. This is it's another good one. This is Dr. Ratio. This is what was the other one that just came up? This is Robin. This is Sunday. Like characters' names are really easy to remember, which kind of helps with a little bit with immersion, at least in my case. So let's say their markings are probably a little bit more on the red side. Kecleon tend to have colors that are in similar patterns to each other. So say that she has maybe her name is Rosary or something like that, because it might sound like Rose, but also Rosary has religious imagery. So maybe that's where some of her I always like making my Kecleon typically trickstery sort of characters, because they're chameleons, so they can be kind of anything. I also like to have maybe some double meanings in my names. And sometimes, name's just a title. So it might be easier just to have it. It's the other thing I like is that, like, how many characters have just kind of ridiculous sounding names in Star Rail, but the funny thing is a lot of the ones that have the weirder sounding names are ones that are like, oh, like that might be a title, or there might be something deeper behind that, or there's a reason they chose that name, even if it's not their original one. It builds intrigue. It makes you wonder why. How did you get a name like that? It's kind of the deal with the main character is called the Trailblazer, and that just sounds cool. And also, the Trailblazer is a character that very much believes in their own legend, which I think is funny. Let's go with me really bright blue on the eyes. Let's go even lighter. Yeah, something like that. To kind of tie it in, maybe we'll go light blue on the claws too. Does this color composition make sense in any way? No, not really, but doing it anyway. Forgot to do the rest of her scarf in the back here, so yeah, I don't know what I do, but we're gonna call her Rosary, because that sounds like a fun name. And I like the color scheme. It's kind of witchy but chill at the same time. Oh, yeah, thanks. Imagine she'd be kind of, maybe a little bit of an ominous character. I think I'm going to add some highlights in here somewhere. Just a little detail. Okay, she's like a tarot reader. I always love the character archetypes that are the ones that are like, I see your future. I'm not going to tell you. I already know everything, but I'm not going to let you know. I'm just here for the fun of the ride, you know? Those are fun characters a lot of the time. Yeah. So add a little more accent, maybe down here on her gloves. Maybe there's a little on her tail. Maybe it's even like a corruption or something that's on her. So that's another thing I could do if I wanted to do a character. I could definitely draw a Kecleon in a lot of different character poses. And I also like drawing the mysterious. I could do them in expressions. That's kind of the idea of this whole thing, is that, like, if I was to make a YouTube channel, what sort of character would I make? I don't know, what do you think? Should I do one more? I did 2. Would you like me to do another one? I have an idea for maybe one other potential character thing I could do. And since you're the main girl of the hour, I could do one more. I think I have an idea for one more character I could do. Oops, that's not what I want. Alright, let's save so we don't lose stuff. So, obviously, something that comes to mind. Let's make that a little bit more that way. There we go. Another thing that comes to mind is obviously my icon, as I am Dusk Lugia, so obviously it does come to mind the idea of doing a Lugia, obviously. For ones I never know quite how to draw. Sometimes I draw them bird-like, sometimes I draw them dragon-like. Really depends on the mood. We're gonna need to get that a little smaller. And the thing is, like, should I be drawing anatomy right now? Yeah, but I'm also just trying to get the shape of what I'm trying to draw out. So, do a tail up there. So kind of just, again, I'm going off of what feels right usually, and maybe if I did a little bit more practice, I'd be fine, but the thing about Lugia is it has these interesting wings that are kind of hand-like. So I can keep them really kind of loose. They can fold up like wings like that. But they can also be like, so you could have like straight wings that look like that, or you could have potentially a little bit more like this. Many fingers on it. It really just depends. We're gonna go for side wing for now, because I only feel like drawing one ring right now. They have these little eye guards that are like this. And again, my interpretation of Lugia and where it came from is actually from the game Pokemon XD. So that version has what you call the Shadow Lugia. Mine's where my name Dusk Lugia comes from. That has a little bit more jagged of parts. So I draw my Lugia a little bit more jagged looking because I'm used to having that sort of vibe to my creatures, in this case, at least. So we'll have 1, 2, 3, maybe fingers there. Because its wings kind of fold in and out around. So they kind of fold in like a bird's because it is a flying type. But it's also very dragon-like. Don't know why we're giving it this big a chest right now, but I don't know. Just feel like it. So they actually have soft feet, but I like drawing them with claws because the Shadow Lugia has claws. It's much more spiky of a creature because it's been corrupted. So typically, Lugia does not have huge claws like this, but I like drawing it with claws like this. We're going to have to move this up again. Because I like to, let's move it over this way a little. Because I like to, I don't know, like things with claws. It's a weird foot right there, but we're just going to leave it for now. No, since I'm feeling kind of gothic right now, let's give it a wine glass. I don't know why. I'm feeling gothic right now. Got a little wine glass he's holding. Or she's holding, I guess, in this case, if this was my avatar. Let's get the tail out a little bit further. Moving that way, because I like the spikes it has on the tail. Hey, what's up? It's the guest appearance. Name that Pokemon.
Me.
Say hi. Or grunt into the camera. That also works.
I just got my hair cut.
I know, you look very nice.
Took me a long time. My back is all messed up. So I just can't.
So what else is new?
I just want to come say hi because I saw you streaming downstairs. Hello.
Yeah.
Wow.
Carrie's pushing underneath
Her dog.
I was just trying to
Must
think of
have
like
some food down there that you dropped.
I just wanted to check if I could actually do
dog
drawing
cam
streams very well. Yeah.
Puppy
Who's not really happy being held right now.
Being held. No, it's coming across very nice.
Good.
I love watching your drawing streams. I think drawing is very. I love drawing Lugia. We just hi, Bubby. For watch this. Come here. Right here.
Doge. Yep.
Come here. Give me a kiss. Kiss. Oh, give me kisses. Mwah. Let's go. Come sit in my lap. Come sit. Sit in my lap. Thank you. We were doing L week a couple weeks ago when we did. And I had to draw a Lugia on the board to get one of the kids to write L.
I know. I was the one who recommended.
Were you there? Here, I'm gonna turn this up a little. You are very quiet. I'm loud, but you're very quiet. Also needs to be.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I was trying to turn that. It's not easy to do.
I'm gonna mute it real quick so it's not super loud. Okay. And then just keep talking.
All right. Can you hear me now? We turn the mic back on.
Is she too quiet?
Yeah. I
was watching. Well, you're on our TV downstairs, and you.
I wasn't sure. I am honestly quiet, so it could be.
Okay, perfect. Dope.
So.
Anyways, I'll let you and Evie hang out.
I'm
gonna go eat some cereal.
Cause she's been out all day.
Yeah.
I'm doing this last one for an encore as thanks for her being here. She asked for another one, so I'm doing another one because you're my loyal viewer tonight. You have all the control.
It's on the TV too. That's pretty cool. That's cool.
Well, because I have to put it through that, and I had the TV on from playing Star Rail, so I'm like, well, I guess I can see it through there too. I was thinking of doing that. I'm not sure if they would be interested in, but I thought it would be interesting, and I thought about it in the shower, so therefore it must be a good idea. What if I compiled all the trailers from Genshin and just watched all of them and reacted to all of them?
I think that'd be fun. I think you definitely have an audience in All City because they really like Genshin.
Yeah. Well, the idea I want to do is that I was looking at the latest Star Rail trailer and be like, man, the animation in this is peak. But I'm also like, I wonder. I've seen most of them. I'm like, I've not seen.
Now you're talking loud, so when you're talking loud, just turn it down a bit. Well, downstairs, I was trying to listen. You were like mumbling, so I couldn't hear.
Because I'm talking down.
Okay.
I'm stopping to talk up this now. I'm not projecting down because I'm not drawing at the moment. But like I would there's so many characters I don't know. Even though I've been in Genshin's fandom since a year after it existed as a game, I've been in it, so at least vaguely aware of its fandom for a while, and then I was actively part of its fandom for a while after that, and then I just recently tried to play the game and just was frustrated with its combat. But like, I could probably watch all the trailers and probably find out like a lot of characters. I could watch them kind of blind because I don't know a ton of the characters. I know pretty much most of the characters in certain regions, but next to nothing on most of them. I know the ones that are shipped. The ones that have very popular ships, therefore they have a lot of fan art, therefore I see it when I look online. Those are the characters I know. The characters that are not shipped with other characters, I don't even know they exist. Also, like, everyone in Liyue has like an X or a Y in their name, so they all look the same. So you're trying to read fanfiction and you're being like, who are all you people? I don't even know if this is a male or a female I'm speaking to right now. Whatever it was, I think Beto or whatever it is, Sadie told me is actually a woman, and I'm like, really? I've seen that name around and I thought that was not a woman. I'll be honest. Because none of the names, again, that's the one thing I will give a little flack for, and I will give a point to Star Rail for. Genshin's names are not easy to remember, nor to pronounce. You look at a name and be like, why are there so many letters in that name? How do you even say that? And you know it's never going to be pronounced the way it's spelled, especially when you're like in the Chinese regions. You're like, there's no way that's pronounced the way it's spelled. Who even knows? So I think it'd be fun to watch all the trailers like in chronological order. Maybe give myself like 5 minutes to react. Like, I'll react, but I'll get like 5 minutes to speak on each one, and then I'll go into the next one and make it just like a 3-hour long stream. Or I honestly don't know how many trailers there are in Genshin, so I don't even know how long that would take. But I think it'd be interesting to do. Just because, like, the one trailer I watched, and I know practically by heart at this point, the only trailer I watching Game Awards, and they've been showing Hoyoverse trailer for like 20 minutes. See, I assumed I wasn't going to have much audience because I'm like, I was told by a friend the Game Awards were happening. Like, oh, all right. What sort of Hoyoverse trailers are there? I saw some news things about Third Impact, in Triple Z. I'll have to see what Star Rail trailers they have. I imagine it's going to have to do with the upcoming third 3.0 update. They're on 2.7 right now. And it's been heavily, like, it's been, in their last major live stream, it was, like, kind of revealed where the next world was going to be, and I haven't seen it, but I'm at very least curious, because, like, every world has a vibe. The next one's very Greek-themed, and there's this one character I like, who's actually, like, the only character in the game right now that has a strong Greek theme, so if it's a chance to get more of his backstory, I'm totally down, because I like him a lot as a character. He was a free character last year because that last year's Game Awards, Star Rail won a couple of very major awards, so they gave away a free character, and he's really good, so I kind of like it. Star Rail 1 was cool looking and made the game look like it was a runner, so it was confusing if you didn't know the game. That's actually the cool thing about Star Rail. It could be a runner. Because Star Rail, like, a lot of people talk about I like Greek stuff too, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. But Star Rail, that's the funny thing about it. There's actually multiple game types in there. Like, on its face, it's a JRPG. You have turn-based combat, but there's actually a lot of other game modes in there. They have there's like a dating sim at one point. There is a museum builder. They just added in like a lounge. There's one part where you're essentially playing Ace Attorney, where you have to collect clues and go and like argue against people with like, you know, your objections and stuff in order to solve the case. Like, I love how many different game modes some of the different Star Rail quests have. There's one I think there is one point where you're, like, doing, like, a mini shooter quest sort of thing. Like, you never know what you're going to run into. I heard the latest one was that was, like, in a movie theater, or movie studio or something like that, where you're fighting, like, ninja banana monkeys or something. Star Wars interesting like thing. It reminds me again a lot of Mass Effect, where it's like interstellar comedy / epic. So like you can have like the third world's all about like, death and debating your purpose and like how long are we here for? Why are we here for? And yet at the same time, it also has galactic ninjas and monkeys throwing bananas and dinosaurs that spit fire. That's just how this game is. Its tone is doing so many things at once, and so like one hand it can really hit the big poignant moments, but the other hand it can also do some just ridiculous things. There's this point where you're just fighting a bunch of really buff trash cans, like trash cans with intense muscles, and you're just fighting them for whatever reason, because the Trailblazer has a thing with trash cans. Like, the tone is so fun because you never know what you're going to get. If they had a random mini game like you're now a hamster and you have to go and like fight something, I don't know, I'd be like, okay. There is literally a mini game where you go around as a little tiny like wolf man and you have to shoot things with a rocket launcher. It was very funny. Yeah, trash cans. The trash can storyline is funny. That's why I will again. I hope I would like to know if the Traveler gets more personality down the line than they start with. I appreciate that in the beginning the Trailblazer is your like avatar character, but they're also very much their own character because we're like we have like this rabid raccoon that is like on one hand the hero, the chosen one, has this mysterious past, but on the other hand talks to trash cans, hits things with a bat. Like has this very kind of gung-ho attitude. Like they have like this very meta sense of humor where like they almost are vaguely aware that they're in a video game, but everyone else is like, why are you talking about fighting the final boss? What the heck are you going on about this time? I like that all their friends are just like, okay, we just understand that you're a different breed of special. And I like that. The Trailblazer's kind of rabid, and they talk to trash cans, and that's funny. So while they are mostly a silent protagonist, they are a well-done silent protagonist in my opinion, much like the likes of Byleth in Three Houses or Joker from Persona 5, or even the hero from Dragon Quest 11. They don't talk much, they do. I'm so glad they actually used the voice actor, because it annoys the heck out of me that they have Zach Aguilar on the male Traveler, and he doesn't get to do any talking. He's a great voice actor. I like him as a voice actor. But, that's a rant for another day. But I like the fact that the Trailblazer does talk a lot. You don't have to talk a ton, but a good silent protagonist should talk every once in a while so you can get enough inflection from them. And you should be able to control them and determine their responses, but they should also be able to emote, act, and show how they're behaving to make themselves feel like a character in their world. Otherwise, you get the how would I say, make cookie cutter blank protagonists. This happens a lot in RPGs where you have a protagonist that is like your character and they're a complete blank slate. I guess Link is kind of one of these characters where they're a complete blank slate, at least earlier generations of Link, where they have no personality, they're just for you to insert yourself into, and like, which is fine, but at the same time that also makes them a nothing character because it means that they literally can have no stakes in any encounter. They can have no true relations with any character, or every character loves them unconditionally. If your character, it's kind of like the reason you write flaws into a character. If every character is loved, if the character is loved by everyone, then they have no flaws, and if they have no flaws, they have nowhere to grow, and therefore they're boring. This is the problem with Captain Marvel in the MCU. Something I really like about it is that the main has much of a part than Genshin. Yeah. That's why you're right, Eliza, I kneecap the heck out of myself by playing Star Rail first. But in my defense, I loved Genshin at the time. As a concept, I loved the characters. I saw the first the trailers for Star Rail, and I'm like, this is kind of weird. It's a little janky. It looks like silly. I'm not sure I'm gonna like it. I literally went in to play because they had the one water dragon guy, which ironically was the same time I was getting a different water dragon in Genshin. Was the time I started playing Star Rail. I was busy trying to get Neuvillette in Genshin, and I went to go play, and I was playing Star Rail at the same time. I literally started playing Star Rail, and then I went to play Genshin. But the reason I started playing that was because they said they were giving out free passes. So I was like, okay, well, I'll log in. I figured I would log in like any gacha game, get my resources, then just start drawing. And then, like, I did not expect the story to go so hard so fast. Or the characters to honestly be very endearing. It grabbed me pretty quickly. I'm like, oh, this isn't just a mindless pick up and play whenever I feel like a game. This is a game that demands my attention and makes me want to listen to the voice acting. And trust me, I've paid for video games where I don't want to listen to the voice acting because it's not very well done. It can be a great story, but it also is one where, like, let's all mute the English voices because they suck. That's why I usually listen to Japanese dubbing, because usually the inflection is better. And maybe if I listened to Genshin with the Chinese voices, like the original voices that they had, I would maybe, I don't know, Paimon might be more tolerable. That's the other reason to watch all the Genshin trailers in a row. I don't know what any character's voices sound like. Well, I know what the characters in Sumeru sound like. But, I don't know what any of the characters sound like. So it'd be interesting to watch these trailers for characters that I've heard of, but I have no idea what their voices sound like. And that will either be very good or very bad. I always cringe a little when I see either a young boy character or a young girl character and be like, please don't have an annoying voice. Please don't have an annoying voice. Please don't have an annoying voice. I don't want to hate you. There have definitely been characters that I'm like, you look so cool. And then you listen to their voice and be like, never mind. I'm not going to be able to overlook that voice. Darn. Yeah, honestly, the biggest thing holding me back right now is Paimon. It's the reason I haven't gone back to play Monster Hunter Stories 2 recently, is that your sidekick character just won't shut up. And his voice is vaguely grating. Like, it's not even a bad voice, it's just like, the amount of times they go and say the obvious, when I'm like, just let my character speak. Clearly they have feelings about this moment. Don't state the obvious of how I must feel right now. Be like, oh, you must feel really down right now. No duh, I just watched my best friend get stabbed through the heart. Really? Thank you, sidekick character, for telling me how I must feel right now. Because I'm just so inept as a human that I can't show it in any way on my face, nor in my words, you know? So, I don't know. We'll see. But I think it'd be fun to do I don't know, if people would be interested in watching it, because I could do it on a stream, then, like, maybe turn it into a video. Like, edit it down. But I just think it'd be interesting also to see how trailers have progressed over time. Because here's the interesting thing. I've always wondered about Genshin trailers. And then I'm going to get back to drawing in a minute. But I have to focus in order to think about this. So, Genshin trailers, the first one, I watched the first one, like the release one that talked about. The reason I know actually a lot about Genshin is I watched the very first bunch of trailers because they were all over the place. You could not watch a single video on YouTube without it. And so I got curious and I watched some of them. And I remember when Genshin Impact launched, we were streaming in our basement with our cereal box, stand for our camera. And I told my sister, what about we play Genshin Impact on my PS4? I can download it. It's a new hot game. Maybe people will like it. I was so excited to play the game. And then the moment just passed us by. We were busy or something, or maybe we had another game that we were playing. But we just never went to do it. But I was one of the people who wanted to play on launch, and probably it's a good thing I didn't. But I don't know, maybe I would have been more forgiving of Mondstadt back then. But, like, I was very into it at the time. And so I watched those first couple trailers, which explain the regions, explain the stuff that's going on. I most distinctly remember the narration for the ice region. But, whatever that is. But, I remember later on, I skip most trailers for Genshin because they're usually when I'm on the shower. I listen to music in the shower to help me keep track of time, so I'm not in there for too long. And so I would usually skip them because I didn't want to listen to random voices, especially annoying voices sometimes, while I was trying to shower. The one that came on a lot, I remember, years later, was the trailer for Alhaitham when he dropped. And I usually would skip it because I heard voices, knew it was a Genshin trailer, so I would immediately skip it. One time I did it, I think I was like rinsing my hair, so I had soap in my hands or something. And so I didn't reach outside the shower to skip the ad. So it got past the talking part, and then I heard this music track in the background. I'm like, actually, I really dig this theme. This is a really good theme. It had this kind of like angular, kind of almost EDM vibe to it, but also had this kind of slow, methodical tune to it. It's what Al Haytham's theme is. I think it's Think Before You Act or something like that is the name of the song. But like actually, this is a really cool sound. So I would let the trailer play because I knew after the voices that the music I liked. So I listened to it almost like a song, and then eventually I started listening to what the voices were saying. And then I actually, after listening to it so many times, I actually went and looked at it on the visuals, and I just caught like part of the middle where it shows him doing his fight, and I loved all the fractal effects around his attacks, and I also love a character in a cloak. So of course I'm immediately looking at this character being like, oh, that's a really cool looking character. I love this mage vibe they have going on with this character. And I also loved all the fractal effects around him and stuff like that. Originally when I saw him, I'm like, is this like some sort of time themed character? Because they have like these splitting realities sort of things with these shards and stuff like that. And also like they have things on his ears, which are now I know are headphones, but like, you know, there was a lot of speculation at the time of what those were. A lot of people were suspecting he was going to be like a deaf character or something like that, which would have been cool. I mean, there's technically nothing that says he isn't, but yeah. I remember there's so many things for a while. People were wondering what the things on his ears were, but and so then I watched the character trailer, and you know, I'm like, oh hey, I know that one guy with the jackal hood because I see him on all the marketing. I didn't know what his name was, but I'm like, hey, it's the two fox-eared guys. I know them from the marketing. I didn't know what their names were for a long time, but I just knew they were like, oh, there's the two fox-eared people, which I later learned that only one of them actually has fox ears, the other one's just wearing a hood. And then, you know, there's the, you know, other guy. And I can remember Kavi's voice most distinctly because he's the one who talks the most during that trailer. And that was my first introduction to the century of Genshin voice acting, was that trailer. And I remember, like, watching the trailer and being like, this is cool, I like these two. That's why the first thing that really got me into fan materials was that trailer, was then learning about... I learned who Al Haytham was, literally, so I could search and look for fan art, because I wanted to be able to reference his outfit for some stories I was writing at the time, like for mages. And then I kind of just looked into him. Of course, obviously, once Kaveh was released, they started shipping the two of them together, because they were obviously married. But, because, you know... It was one of those things. I saw like 3 of their conversation events with each other. I'm like, yep. Not being subtle at all with that one. That was they're literally and they were roommates joke. And that's how I kind of got into it. And but the point of the story is, so that's a trailer I watched. And I remember reading in the comments, people being like, wow, what an upgrade in trailer quality. It'd be nice if the other trailers showed them interacting with the other characters. Or other trailers, or like how this trailer isn't just the character talking about himself, it's other characters talking about him and showcasing his ability, like a group of friends sitting down to drink. And I'm just like, wait, so what have the trailers up until this point been like? Is it just the person showing off their abilities? Is it just a bunch of music in the background? Do they not ever interact with other characters in these other trailers? So, I mean, that one trailer in Sumeru is always my quality for, like, where Genshin trailers are. A.k.a. everything before that must be lower, and everything after that must be of equal or higher. So, I don't know, it'd be interesting to test that and see what the trailers are like. I would like to see how the animation quality changes over time. And then a follow-up video I would love to do and watch all the Star Rail trailers. And that would be my own personal pleasure, because I watched a lot of them. And they're like mini movies. Like, some of them are, like, full-on animated. Like... 2D animation, like, animated. Like, I was watching one of my favorite characters in the Third World is Aventurine. If I ever play on here, you'll see him. Really interesting character. But, like, he has 2 different trailers. He has his regular character trailer that shows his traits, and that's animated really well, because it's, like, I love the fact that especially, like, maybe a few in the beginning were more like that, but, like, most of their trailers aren't, like, the typical, let's show the static character model doing their attack animation. It's like, no, they weave in the character's abilities into, like, a full screen animation. So, like, Aventurine's thing is he's, like, all about gambling and things of chance and stuff like that. So it's a video of him going to a casino and essentially sweeping house. And so then there's, like, these robots and, like, dinosaurs that are attacking him. And it's showing his abilities. They're hidden with the way he's fighting back. But, like, the whole time, he's, like, throwing down cards, he's throwing down dice, he's doing slots and stuff like that. The way they kind of weave it all into and they time it to the music with the tokens kind of stuff like that, like, it's a great way that they showcase the character without just being like, oh, here's the static animations we used in the game. Like, no, we're gonna make like a mini movie out of it. I'm like, it's a good one. I would definitely love to watch it. And they tell a lot about not just the character's abilities, but also the character themselves. But like, he also has this other mini trailer that's a 2D animation that's just of him going to a business deal. And again, it has the same sort of like, there's a lot of focus on like casino tokens. There's a lot of focusing on shines, how like the light reflects off his glasses to hide his eyes because his eyes are a huge part of his character. And just I'm like, whoever's doing the 2D animation for all these trailers, can we get them on the horn for like an anime? Not necessarily of Star Rail, but like, cause Star Rail I think is a solid enough game, it doesn't need it. Could use an anime for Genshin because from what I understand, its lore is a bit all over the place, so maybe having a solid storyline would help straighten some of that out. But I don't know, that's just my thought. Stream of me watching and reacting to all the Genshin trailers, and then stream of me watching and reacting to all the Star Rail trailers. I've seen other people do it, I just don't have any like special angle to do it, because like a lot of people who have like some sort of special angle with it are usually like, I'm a former animator, or I'm someone who's never played the games, or I don't know. I don't know how I would spin it to make it special. But I definitely think that'd be fun. And if anyone else thinks it would be fun too, that'd be great. After all, you guys are my audience, so I kind of need to know and be like, hey, I would watch that. Also, we need to determine when we're gonna get together to play Genshin. Now that I have to play it to get my Dragon Boys. By the way, are they ever gonna? I don't get into it too much because I don't know a lot of the lore, but from what I understand, neither does literally anyone else in the fandom. Is Genshin ever going to come to a decision on what it considers dragons in its world? Because it seems like it has 4 different reactions. So, because on one hand, we have dragons like Storm Terror, but on the other hand, we have dragons like Neuvillette. But on the other hand, there's apparently some other kind of dragons. Like, what even is dragons in this world? Like, it seems like there's like a race of dragons. There's also the monster of dragons. There's also just elemental thingies that I guess are also kind of dragons. Like, I don't really care one way or the other, but it's kind of like, yeah, I go into Star Rail, and you know what dragons are? They have a race of dragons. We call it a day. And then if you have dragons on another world, they don't have to match. But they have like a world that's like, yeah, there's the dragon race. Which I definitely low-key think Zhongli is from. Because there's a lot of random weird stuff on that world that is very much like Liyue. So, again, Star Rail is a world of... Teviat is a world within the universe of Star Rail, so there's going to be a crossover at some point, but it's one of those things that just is like, this world of which they live on ships and they've descended to other worlds? Interesting. They have a dragonkin race, that's why it makes me think. Also, they have this one character who looks a lot like him. It's clearly one of those things like, wow, not being subtle at all, are we? Phone. I probably won't be on for too much longer.
That's okay. Come on, Ween. Come on, Ween.
But that's something that frustrates me. I'm like, because that's the thing. The reason it frustrates me is because that only cripples your world lore. You can be vague all you want. I mean, look at Lord of the Rings. It has like the vaguest magic system ever. But it was defined. The author knew at the end of the day what could or couldn't be done within his world. And whether he decided to share that with anyone or not, he knew what it was. So therefore, when you said, what's dragon or not dragon? He could say, well, this. That's the thing that concerns me when I'm looking at Genshin. Be like, okay, so what is a dragon? What isn't a dragon? Because from what I understand, you have like something like Neuvillette, so that's supposedly a dragon or dragon sovereign or whatever. Then you also have things like Azdaza, and then you have things like Storm Terror that are like elemental dragon things that don't seem to be quite sentient like they are, but they clearly aren't. Like, they're like forces of nature more than anything else, but they're not also like that important in the world lore in most cases. They're kind of there to be as a boss, and then you move on. Lugia has this kind of like pattern on stomach. Oh no, I gave this thing such a large chest. I just did. And then you have, like, I don't know, wherever the heck Zhongli sits, because he's a dragon too. Let's try and figure out where exactly that falls. Because the lore, it doesn't even seem like the makers of the game can really come up with a decision on that front. Considering that, like, there's a lot of weird evidence and whatnot around him. What sort of ancestries do I want on this? And then, like, I don't know. There's just some... I love dragons. I do. So I just kind of, I want to go and be like, show me your dragons. You know? Also, again, going back to the magic system thing, if you don't have well-defined rules, then it's kind of, it only weakens your world building over time. It's honestly kind of the problem they seem to be having right now with the whole thing with Fontaine, and only now are we bringing up dragons. We are now, what, 6 out of 8 regions, and only now are we bringing up dragons, and we also are kind of cheating it because we're doing the thing where we're saying it's a dragon, but it's a person, which is definitely cheating. That's only fine if they are normally looking like a dragon and they choose to be in a human form for convenience of travel. And even then, that annoys me to some extent. Unless someone, you know, if you're going to say, we're a dragon, but also I'd be human, and then you're like, well, fine. It's not the most underutilized thing in the world, but it also kind of annoys me. But they give it a monocle. That'd be funny if I gave it a monocle. Let's do it on the other eye. Wait, yeah, like that. Gave it like a little monocle. I feel like if I did that, I need to have a top hat. Little top hat and a little monocle. Each element has its own dragon, and Fallen Thornpear is the embodiment of Anemo, and one in Nuvula is the Hydra one. I think that honestly makes it worse. So, what's the difference between a dragon and like a sovereign dragon then? Because apparently there's a difference. I have seen that as well. Also, what technically classifies as a dragon? What are you going to call the earth dragon thingy they have in Liyue then? Because we know that thing isn't technically a dragon. But certainly they seem to be wanting to treat it like one. Ignoring the other dragon in that region as well, who, you know, is still kind of in a weird position. And not to mention, Natlan is one that I kind of just look at and being like, this feels like, Malin will know this reference, this feels like Book 5 of Fire Emblem Heroes, where you're just like, okay, I was following you for a while, now it feels like you're running out of ideas. And you had to do something big and different, and honestly, finally enough, in Fire Emblem Heroes also was going into the, like, we're doing fantasy, but what if we did high tech as well? And you're like, I don't know if those two things work naturally together. But, yeah. Just Land of Dragons? You're calling those things walking around dragons? Those are at best dinosaurs. Not to mention, if those are all dragons, then what's so special about having one in Fontaine? If apparently there's a land where you have, like, dozens of them just walking around. Why is it even important in the first place? Because then you're like, okay, so that's a dragon, this is a dragon, this is a dragon, but that's not a dragon? Because from what I remember, like, they're like the little tiny things, right? That look like, you know, like little... Like, there's some that look like little kangaroos and stuff like that. Like the little grass ones. I don't know. Why are they only in that region, too? Shouldn't they hypothetically be in every region, since there's supposed to be one that, like, controls each of the different elements? Like, this is the thing that bugs me. If you have an open world game, you have a lot of weight to tell your, like, storytelling in the open world. And if you don't tell it there, you have to tell it through its characters. If you choose to do neither and just leave the questions up in the air, or you keep rewriting your lore, this is the reason gacha games have issues. They tend to screw their own continuity after, like, 3 or 4 seasons. That's why gacha games that usually live over 3 years long get really power crept, or they get pretty muddy in terms of their story. If they choose to have a story. Because if you are stuck in the same world and you have to keep adapting and changing, being like, well, this is why you didn't notice that area, even though it's been here this whole time. We have to kind of like just hand wave away why you can't do this. This is why I think Star Rail has a little bit better of an idea, because it has the idea of there's an infinite number of planets within this galaxy, but we can go to each different planet, and each runs on a different set of rules. So it means that if we get to the 7th world eventually, it's totally crazy and weird and off the charts and has some strange, again, like maybe some strange techie thing going on. Sure, why not? We aren't going to stay there forever, and it doesn't have to abide by the rules of the previous 6 worlds. This isn't a problem with Genshin, by the way. This is a problem actually a lot of JRPGs run into. Is that sometimes your world feels a little confined. Because on one hand, you want to stay big and open and stuff like that, but then you have to go, when you get into the later regions, you're just like, okay, we could do this before, why didn't we do this earlier? You know, it's a suspension of disbelief, but that's the whole point of the author, is to go and distract you away from that. I truly don't understand it either, and I keep seeing the events for it, and I'm kind of like, I look at some of the things, I'm just like, what is going on here? What else should we give this? What else would we look kind of proper like this? I don't know why I gave him a little wine glass, but he's got a little wine glass now. I feel like I could draw this better. Let's do this again. And that's my whole thing, is that with the knowledge that you have one region left, you have one region to go before you have to bring this story to some conclusion in the final area, which is probably going to be that heaven area they keep talking about. Where is our ultimate... What are we building up to here? You know, that's the thing I have to question. It's be like, what are we... What is the goal? You know? Why are we introducing all these new movement types? We're only now just introducing dragons, apparently, but they're really dinosaurs, let's be honest. We should just call them that. And why are we, you know, how's the status quo being changed here? That's the frustrating thing, really, if anything. Is being like, okay, you have to be doing this with intention, right? Let's try, like, let's try something like this. Let's try with a little mantle here instead. Love cloaks, I just can't draw them very well. It's a problem. No, I still don't like that. Put them both over their shoulders. And that's the thing, is like, clearly there's an importance in making, like, Nuvola a dragon instead of just the Archon, besides the fact that they have something against male Archons at this point in the game. Because the cute little adorable girls sell well, I guess. Or the really, tall busty ladies. But they just have something against male Archons at this point. I remember when that came out, I was so hoping that they were going to have another male one and be like, okay, finally we can have another one that looks like a man. We have one right now. Because for the longest time I thought Venti was female, and I think that says something about his design. I do like his design. I own a Nedroid of him now. But if I went and showed that to my mom, I don't think she would go and say that's a boy. She would say that's a little girl. She said that of many things in our room, to be honest. We'll be like, that's a man, believe it or not. But we had like a little tassel or something here. That might be fun. I'm trying to think of what else things I would put on this. We could also have like the little feet things. Maybe might have some rings. Signs of luxury here. Also, sometimes I think of like maybe little bows. I don't know. I'm playing randomly right now. This isn't like the other two came easier because those are characters I've made before. This one I'm just kind of playing around with. Maybe we'd have a vest here or something. Although they do often say simpler is better, so maybe I'm just overthinking this. Anyway. Not sure exactly what that is, but it's a sketch at the very least. I don't know if I'm going to continue with it any further than that, but it's a sketch. Anyway, so I think that's all I'm going to do for now. But, it was fun doing this. I'm glad we were able to stop by and talk. So, just, we'll have to figure out some time to go play Genshin and stuff like that. So I do want to try, at the very least, give that game a chance. Mind you, I'm not stuck in, like, the literal way. I know I only have to fight a boss. I honestly could go and fight it right now. And beat the game, and beat it, and head to the next region. My problem being is that right now I have no desire to want to keep playing the game. So it's kind of like in order for me to want to keep playing this game, it's not a matter of I have to beat the boss. It's not even a matter of I need to get better at the combat. What needs to happen is I need to finish this thing, beat the boss, and then whatever the story beats that come after, which I already kind of think are stupid, just essentially, instead of in my mind, where I'm perceiving the story being in a certain way, which I think is kind of dumb, I need to see characters I become endeared with. I need to see some character quests to help me get to know them better. I have to see something that makes me want to buy the characters. Character interactions, deeper storylines, my character doing anything at all. Does anyone even care why the Traveler can use all the elements? Does anyone care about that? Is that important at all to the story? That feels like that's an important detail. Just there's so many things where you're just like, I don't know, you feel like the random NPC in the story where you're just like, I know we're all saving the world and doing like, incredible feats and stuff like that, but I feel like somebody should question that. Which is how I feel in the current region where I'm like, yeah, Land of Dragons. Is no one going to ask why that is? Or more importantly, why there aren't any in any other region? Why are they just here? Even though we've clearly seen dragons in other regions up until this point. In fact, we've seen like consistently at least one dragon, if not more, per region up until this point. In fact, before this region, we actually just did a thing with a dragon. Just seems weird to call Natlan the Land of Dragons when we literally just were in the last region where there's like a whole apparently character quest, story quest, whatever, with a dragon. And you're just kind of like, okay. Weird. You're just kind of like, every time you add something new, this is the thing you have to be careful of whenever you're in a JRPG. This is something that like the show I used to watch a lot, Ruby, had some issues with. Whenever you add a new piece of lore or world building to your world, you have to consider how it affects everything. Not necessarily really extensively, mind you. It can be, especially if you have a loose magic system instead of like a hard magic system. Which I definitely think that Genshin's interesting. I definitely think it has a hard magic system because there's clearly, on one hand it has a hard magic system, but on the other hand it has a soft magic system because on one hand it does have some hard and fast rules. But on the other hand, it just like does not define at all what magic can or cannot do. This is probably biggest with the visions, where like you have two people with a fire vision that does entirely different things. You know? So it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, I like that we added dragons in here. Are we going to consider what that does? No? Alright. I'm fine with the, you know, water dragon lawyer guy. Don't know a thing about him, but he definitely looks like an Edgeworth, so we'll have to play that on this. We'll have to play this on stream at some point, play Ace Attorney, so you guys can see like Edgeworth interacting and be like, this gives me vibes. This is the vibes I get from this person. Just also the amount of characters that are just walking around being like, oh yeah, I'm a normal human, I'm totally normal and not like the rest of you guys, and definitely haven't been alive for over 60 years. The amount of people that are either gullible enough to not catch up on that at this point in the game, or like the fact that no one calls them out on it is kind of like, you know, we're just ignorance is bliss in this world, I guess. It's also kind of one of those weird things where there's like clearly they could do some secrets and stuff with if they wanted to. I said this since the game's been in its like second update. Like, since, like, you know, Inazuma was introduced in the region. I've been saying this since, like, the very beginning. Pretty much since, like, I learned the basic lore of, like, Liyue and stuff like that. I'm like, they could hide so much lore in that region because it's so freaking old. If they ever need to go and, like, hand-wave something or retcon something, they could literally just go and do a new area in Liyue and be like, oh, well, this thing actually has been here this whole time. We just didn't realize it because all the other regions are too new to know that this thing existed. Like, a lot of ancient lore could be hidden there. Not to mention you have, like, the oldest character in canon over there, too, who just chooses not to say things. If they ever wanted to make some great new understanding about, like, the main, like, about, like, what it was, Celestia or whatever it is their heaven realm or whatever is the false sky in Genshin. If they wanted to go and just randomly have some random detail about the past or even about the dragon, stuff like that, they don't even need to introduce a new character about that. They could just say that Zhongli knew about it, and he just hasn't chosen to say anything up until this point because of a contract or something. Like, you have a character that old, you literally can be like, anytime we need a lore dump, say this character knew it, and he just hasn't mentioned anything up until now. You could do that. They don't. I don't know why. They just let their lore kind of crash into itself, but you could. It'd be fascinating. I swear I don't hate this game. I actually really do enjoy it. But you're critical of things you love. I'm also very critical of Three Houses, which I do also love as a game. It doesn't mean it's bad. It just means I kind of look at it and be like, what could be? Anyway, that's all the doodling I'm going to do for tonight. We're almost at 11 o'clock, which is definitely needs to be my bedtime. I meant to get off at 10, but then I kind of just enjoyed drawing. So, final count we got here of those who might be only popping in now. We had, I did want a Sable, my Zangoose character right here. I did this Cleon character. I decided to name Rosary. She got a little thing. I like her. Maybe I'll use her for an icon. Then I did this little kind of dapper looking Lugia. I don't know. I wish I could draw capes. Anyway. So, thanks for those who tuned in. Love you guys. All the others, I understand. The Game Awards are on, and I'm definitely not as interesting as that. So, not sure if I'm going to stream tomorrow or not. We'll see what I'm doing. Maybe I'll play Genshin tomorrow. Maybe I'll do another drawing stream. Maybe I'll just work on my backlog again. Who knows? I'm just trying to stream close to like 3 or 4 times a week if I can. Not for any reason besides I just want to kind of get better at it, get more used to talking on camera, and, do some stuff I want to do. So, I like talking to people when we're here. I like our little chat, hopefully eventually more people will join and we'll have more chatter going and just have some fan discussions, So thanks for those who are tuning in, who enjoyed it. Not much gaming tonight, but we were cozy. So, we're still fulfilling the title, and we're technically drawing video game characters here. So, if anyone liked the drawing stream, I'd be down to doing another one in the future. Working on some other things I have that I want to draw and work on. I'm down for it, if anyone else likes doing it. I do chat quieter because I'm looking at my chest as opposed to looking at the camera. So, I'll be a little softer in those ones. But if anyone else was interested by this idea, this concept, this was kind of more a proof of concept than anything else. If anyone likes to see more of this, I'd be down for trying it again. So, you have to let me know in the comments in our Discord. We do have a Discord. I need to get a link in that in our Twitch page at some point. Anyway, so, thanks for hanging, thanks for talking. Glad you're able to show up. Have a good rest of your night, and if I don't see you again, have a good Friday. Good weekend, everyone. Maybe I'll see you at some point coming up.